right, I'd like to call to order the October 10th, 2023 meeting of the Columbia Heights School Board. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll do the roll call. Mary, we call the roll, please.
Granlund here. Maderas.
Here.
Petway.
Here.
Hool.
Here.
Palmer. Mueller.
Here.
Superintendent Stenvick.
Here. Thank you. Next is our mission statement. Our mission statement is creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. Our core values are community, excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. Next, we have our agenda approval, adjustments, and announcements. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Jessica, and a second?
Second.
Second by Michelle. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next, we have our announcements. On October 17th at 5:30, we have a school board work session here in the community room. October 17th at 7 p.m. is a subcommittee on community engagement, also here in the community room. October 19th and October 20th, there is no school. October 24th at 5 p.m. is the tenured teacher ceremony in the community room. October 24th at 7 p.m. is the regular school board meeting in the community room. November 7th is election day. November 7th, there's also no school. November 14th at 5 o'clock is a subcommittee on policy meeting in the community room, and November 14th at 7 p.m. is a regular school board meeting in the community room. Next, we have our communication to the board, citizen and employee representatives. At this time, any citizen or employee may briefly address the school board. The board will listen to the brief remarks, ask clarifying questions, and if desired, request that the administration follow up. The board will not take action at this meeting on requests presented at this time, and time will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. We do have one person who has filled out a card. Greg, you can come on up and then just give us 1 second. Great, thank you. We had one public comment, or I should say one one person communicating to the board, and their comment was related to asking questions for the process for communicating traffic control concerns and ideas around the Valley View. So thank you for that. Next, we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes the personnel report from October 10th, and the school board minutes from September 12th, September 19th, and September 26th. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Julie, and a second?
Second.
Second by Mary. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next, we have our acknowledgement of contributions. This is a resolution, so I will read the resolution. Acknowledgement of Contributions Resolution. Whereas Minnesota Statute 123B.02 permits school boards to receive for the benefit of the district bequests, donations, or gifts for any proper purpose and apply the same to the purpose designated. In that behalf, the board may act as a trustee of any trust created for the benefit of the district and for the benefit of the pupils thereof. Therefore, be it resolved by the School Board of Columbia Heights Public Schools, Independent School District Number 13, that the school board accepts with appreciation the contributions detailed in the background in the amount of $15,691.05. The background includes monetary donations. A donation of $3,400 was made to Valley View from the Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for a Gaga pit. A donation of $1,000 was made to Valley View from the Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for a culture night and fun run. A donation of $200 was made to Valley View from St. Timothy's Church for family support. A donation of $1,000 was made to Valley View from the Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters to Valley View support. A donation of $1,676 was made to activities at the Columbia Heights High School for girls basketball programs from the Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters. A donation of $1,603 was made to activities at Columbia Heights High School boys soccer program from the Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters. A donation of $497.50 was made to activities at the high school for the wrestling program from the Boosters. A donation of $685 was made to activities at the high school for the lacrosse program from the Boosters. A donation of $456.55 was made to activities at the high school dance team from the Boosters. A donation of $212 was made to the activities at the Columbia Heights High School synchro team from the Boosters. A donation of $261 was made to activities at the high school for the girls swim team from the Boosters. And a donation of $2,400 was made to activities at the high school for strength training from the Boosters. And a donation of $600 was made to activities at the high school for the boys soccer from the Boosters. Also, value in kind. A donation of school supplies was made to Valley View Elementary from St. Timothy's Church for student needs, estimated value of $200. A donation of flexible seating chairs and gift cards was made to Valley View Leap Classroom from anonymous donor, estimated value of $364.92. A donation of stickers was made to Highland Elementary from J.C. Conley, estimated value of $50. A donation of school supplies was made to Highland Elementary Mr. Lee's classroom from Karima Abdullah, estimated value of $260. A donation of school supplies was made to Highland Elementary from American Legion Post 555, estimated value of $40. A donation of whiteboards, Spanish books, and school supplies was made to Highland Elementary, Miss Rademacher's classroom by Sage Auto, estimated value of $500. A donation of N95 masks was made to Columbia Heights Public Schools by Mary Granlund, estimated value of $30. Total fiscal year 2023-2024 monetary contributions to date is $22,032.67. Can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Michelle, and a second?
Second.
Second by Julie. Any discussion? Michelle?
I don't normally comment on this because I feel like everyone's so grateful. But I do appreciate all the contributions given. We're not even halfway through the school year, and that is a nice amount to have been donated to our schools and our children. I just think it's amazing. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of the people who donated.
Yeah, thank you. Any other discussion?
I would just,
Well, I just wanted to note that I saw that Valley View posted photos of the Gaga pit in their, on their playground. And so if you haven't checked that out, go online and look at it. It's a pretty nice addition to their playground.
Excellent. Mary?
I was just going to say, again, as always, thank you to our community, and it's always really fun. Some of these groups donate every year, and it's always fun to see them be just as excited about this school year and being a part of the community and helping out as our regular staff. So again, just thank you to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to give a shout out to the Boosters. As you can see, I shortened their name like on the third time or that I read it. But really a supportive community organization that is led by volunteers throughout our community who care about giving our kids an opportunity to do things that maybe otherwise they wouldn't be able to do. There's a lot of dollars in there, and it's not just now, it's often. So thank you to the Boosters and to our local businesses who are supporting our classrooms, and to all of our donors. Much appreciated. Since it's a resolution, there'll be a roll call vote. Mary, will you do the roll call?
Yep. Granlund? Aye. Maderas?
Aye.
Petway?
Aye.
Poole?
Aye.
Palmer? Mueller?
Aye. Resolution passes. Thank you. Next, we have discussion reports and information items, and that we have start our reports from members of the board, and we will start with Jessica.
Sure. Well, unfortunately, I was unable to make the last board meeting, so unfortunately for all of you, this is going to be kind of a twofer in terms of my report. But I attended the work session and the subcommittee on community engagement. We'll hear an update from that subcommittee later in the meeting. I attended the September PTO meeting at Highland Elementary. I also attended MSBA's advocacy tour, one of the sessions they did. They did virtual tours around the state to talk about their legislative platform and how members of MSBA and board members can help lobby for that agenda and help build that this fall. I also attended Phase 3 training through MSBA, which is the training on building a high-performance school board team. And so I'm looking forward to finishing Phase 4 up this month and bringing back some good recommendations that hopefully I can incorporate into my own practice as a board member. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Mary?
Okay, let's see, it was a busy few weeks, so I was able to attend the football game until the rain happened, our homecoming game. It was wonderful. Our team did amazing. And all of the students and families that were there, it was so much fun to be a part of that. The next day was homecoming dance, and I ended up being an accidental chaperone, which was a lot of fun to be able to see the kids dressed up in their finest dress and really excited to be at the dance. It was so much fun. I also attended the forum, and for people who were not able to attend, it was done by the teachers union here. However, if people want to watch it, it was recorded, and I do believe it is on our YouTube channel. So I encourage people to look at that and have a watch. Then I also attended the AMSD monthly update, which was really fascinating. They talked, they had some students joining from other school districts, and they just did a really great job. And much like we are trying to do as a school board, it was very student-centered voices, and it was great to hear them say what they were excited about, things that they're working on, which seems to dovetail a lot of the stuff that we're working on. So, the kids talked about they are student school board reps for their school districts. They talked about more networking. They wanted to, continue to have a voice. And, I had a discussion with Superintendent Stenvik during that as well. And, doing a lot of the things that we're doing is along those same lines and having those student guiding coalitions. It was a really great training, or not training, it was a very informational meeting, and then just lots and lots of conversations with students and staff and families about sort of how the legislative changes are impacting the work that we're doing here in our schools. And I'm sure that I have forgotten something, but I think that covers most of it.
Great. Thank you. Michelle?
So I also attended the homecoming game, which was a lot of fun. It was my first homecoming game in the district and as a board member, so it was a lot of fun. I took my daughter as her first game. We enjoyed that. I also attended and participated in the local 710 Teachers Union candidate forum that was held here that Director Graham spoke of. I attended a community event called Adulting Coffee. It's every Friday at 9 o'clock at Community Grounds in Columbia Heights, just for adults to show up and adult. It was very fun and a nice way to get away and bond with our community members and things like that. I also helped to clean LaBelle Park this weekend as a part of the city's Central Ave cleanup that they do. They usually send people with kiddos to parks to keep them out of danger along, Central Ave. So my daughter and I went to LaBelle Park and cleaned up there. It was definitely fun and a nice park to walk through. A lot of life there with the geese and squirrels and ducks and everything that exists. I also attended the Poland Slideshow Extravaganza yesterday at City Hall. That was hosted there by the mayor and members of the Sister Cities Committee. They went and visited Poland and visited our sister city as well as other places. It's called Lomianki, and we also have a garden named Lomianki. garden. And yeah, it was just a lot of pictures and experiences from people who went. It was a lot of fun to go there and experience a different culture that I don't know too much about. So we definitely took that in. My daughter attended that with me as well. I also attended the Columbia Heights City Council meeting after that. And I updated the community members and city council and mayor on just district updates and things we have going on district-wide. And I also was there for, well, yesterday was Indigenous Peoples Day, so that was recognized, as well as a proclamation made for it. And there was also a proclamation made for Polish Heritage Month. So those were the two proclamations made, and there was also discussion of the cancellation of the student resource officer agreement. So they spoke on that too, which is more surrounding our situations. And I think that's about it. Now we're here.
That's all.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michelle. Julie?
That's good, because I have nothing to report this week due to
See, for the
personal
both of
issues.
us.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Julie. For my reports, I also attended what I'll call Homecoming Game Part 1. I unfortunately was not able to make it to Part 2, but it was a fun game, and I'm glad everybody was safe during that storm, which was incredibly strong storm. I also attended the Local 710's School Board Candidate Forum, so I thank the candidates for attending that. I attended the Boosters Annual Award Dinner. So that was great to see that, and some awards and recognition for students as well as staff and people within the community. I have had some conversations with community members specifically related to concerns with our girls basketball team. I had the subcommittee on policy. I'll say we had the chair meeting. We had a wonderful walk as part of our chair meeting.
Walking meeting.
A walking meeting, which it was fun to see our Adventure Club kids playing at the park and enjoying this beautiful afternoon, and then was able to catch part of the high school varsity girls volleyball game this afternoon as well. That is my report. Superintendent Stenvick, do you have a report, correspondence for us?
I do have a report. As mentioned, the Columbia Heights Boosters had their annual awards dinner, and Principal Kuhlman was awarded with the Distinguished Service Award at the annual dinner. So congratulations to Principal Kuhlman, very much well-deserved. I attended the October District American Indian Parent Advisory Committee meeting and was also able to stop by the North Park Parents of Color Advisory meeting. So thank you for welcoming me there. Really great to see so many parents that are engaged in our schools. Executive Director Niembwe and Director Tuckrell and I had the opportunity to tour a metro area school who's in their third year of implementing a literacy program similar to functional phonics and functional morphology, which is what we have. And the literacy practices are very promising, so it was good to see a school that's a couple years into it, so that as a basis for when we're out and observing classrooms. Last week, staff across the district participated in meaningful professional development, and I do appreciate the teaching and learning team for organizing 2 productive days as staff. For us staff, it's important that we always continue to learn and grow as well. Prior to this meeting, the monthly labor management meeting took place, and I really appreciate the collaborative approach to problem solving that we have with our teachers. And then, just as a reminder, coming up, we are looking forward to participating in the city's Truck or Treat event on October 28th at Husett Park. And since our last board meeting, I communicated with Member Petway, Member Granlund, and Chair Mueller. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Continuing on our information items, we have Strategic Direction B, improving our students' academic achievement and career college readiness. We've got Director Godfrey and Director Tuckrell.
getting close. Good evening, Chair Mueller, members of the board, Superintendent Stenvick. I'm here today with Director Godfrey, our Director of Special Education, to share about Strategic Direction B. And Strategic Direction B doesn't give a lot of information in that one, but it is improving each student's academic achievement in college and career readiness. Our mission in Columbia Heights Public Schools, creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner, all belong, all succeed. And focusing in on the core values of excellence, collaboration, and innovation, the Columbia Heights core values are aligned with our Board of Education equity statement. And this is an informational update, so no governance to follow. As we report tonight on Strategic Direction B, this comes from our strategic roadmap, which ends at the end of this school year, so 2024. And we're really focusing in on B, which is the academic achievement in college and career readiness. Just a quick glimpse at our students, a glance at our demographics from last year. As we look at the left, it's our race and ethnicity, and a huge point of pride in our school system is our diversity and what it brings to our students. A lot of graduates, when they leave, they share with us how diverse our school district is and how it prepares them for the future and the world, and you see that in that graph as well. So definitely a huge asset for our school district. On the right, you see enrollment by other criteria. So students receiving English language services or multilingual students, these are percentages from last year. If you come up to the placement center any day, it is busier than that. And so definitely those numbers have gone up. And we have schools that are well over 50%. And so those numbers are from last year as we're reporting data from last year. Our special education services were close to 17%, which Director Godfrey said is about the state average. We're right around there. And our free and reduced price meals population last year was about 82%. So as we look at this data and we share about academic achievement and the assets that our students bring, we also consider some of the supports that our students need when it comes to being a multilingual learner. Many of our multilingual learners and a lot of our special education service, or students receiving special ed services, are not at grade level, and so are receiving additional services. So as we look at the data tonight, we'll reflect on that and the supports we're providing. So our strategic direction B, B1 is personalized learning. And as we look at personalized learning, the first one is engaging in professional development. Well, COVID definitely gave us a lot of positives and a lot of challenges. One of the positives was really bringing our teachers up to speed and up supporting them with technology. So it went down a little in terms of our percentage of students engaged in professional development because we did so much during COVID. We also have a lot of resources where our teachers are engaging on their own. There's a website, there's a podcast that goes out, there's support that happens that they might not need to come to professional development, but they're getting on the spot support with it. B2 is teachers using data with students to provide feedback. The measure for this was from a survey, and so our percentages ended up pretty similar to previous years. But as we consider the work that we've done with professional learning communities, it would be a higher percentage when we include that one. So as we think about the measure that we're using, teachers self-reported using data with students, that was from a survey provided. And teachers establishing norms for digital learning, we are still in the vision category for that one. That is an expectation from our teachers and as a district to provide digital citizenship and really talk about online and the norms around it. B2 is PLC's focus on academic achievement. B2-1 is looking at grade level department PLC rubric and artifacts evidence of implementation. And last school year, we were in progressing. As we look ahead, which I know we're focused on last year for this, we would be higher. So last year, some of our challenges, we're trying to overcome them, are when we think about singletons. So we think about teachers who are the only ones in our district teaching that thing. So they're the only theater teacher. They're the only career and technical, our FCS, our family consumer science. How do we connect them with networks outside of our school district so they have supports? So we're working on that this school year. B2-2 are students showing annual academic growth. This was an area of focus for us, was really ensuring that our students are growing. As we think about our students and where they start, all of them are starting at a different spot, but this strategic direction is really focused on growing our students. And so we did see an increase. Our focus last year was on literacy and growth, and so it was great to see this increase. We're excited, as Superintendent Stenbeck shared earlier, about the growth that we will see at the end of this school year. When we look at math, B2-3, we're at about the same percentage as last year, so we're still in baseline. This is an area that we have focused in on the last couple years, and we're hoping to see some growth in that one too. And then B2, 4, and 5 are focused on meeting grade level standards, and the measure for those are MCAs, which is one assessment that we have during the school year. So B2, 2, and 3 are FastBridge. FastBridge is given 3 times a school year, in the fall, winter, and spring. So we're really able to use that data to support our instruction and continue to watch growth and see how things are working, adjust, and support our students. The MCA test, the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessment Test, is given 1 time a year in the spring, and really is given as a glimpse in terms of how is this group of students doing and where can we focus in on standards. So we're able to use some of the work from that to focus in on our standards this year and support our teachers and our leaders with looking at the standards and ensuring we're providing that opportunity for our students to grapple and to use the standards. So we are in the same category in the past in terms of intervention for reading and math.
So B26, the percent of students meeting grade level standards in science, you can see that we haven't made as much growth as we would like to from 22 to 23, as well as percent of students in the district since 8th grade meeting college readiness benchmarks on the SAT and ACT. So of those students, about 23.1%. Or 56% currently in 12th grade cohort are the students that you see reflected in that column. However, the percent of special education students or students receiving special education services, rather, demonstrating academic growth in reading has gone up from 22 to 23. And I think that can really be reflected in the focus that we have on reading, working with our special education teachers, collaborating a lot with their general education counterparts. Excuse me. The percent of special education students or students receiving special education services demonstrating academic growth in math has gone from sorry, I lost my spot, baseline to that intervention column. Again, there is a big focus on reading, and as we get even stronger in our reading strategies, we'll expand them into math. Something that can be noted, though, is that we have had an increase in families wanting to attend Heights because of our services for students with particularly high needs. And so that is something to note, and it's great that we have families that want to attend, not just that live in Heights, but from all over the metro area. So our fall to spring literacy growth. Last year was typical or aggressive, and we're really focusing on that aggressive growth. You can see the different percentages, that 6th, 7th, and 8th grade group doing really well as first grade. We are using the FAST assessment on that from spring. It will look a little bit different with those kindergarten and first graders because of what they're being asked to do and how that changes from the fall to the spring. It is a developmental test. So the target from fall to spring changes, and what is proficient in the fall is different than what is proficient in the spring. And this is done to support growth that we can see across those formative years at the beginning of schooling for them. And then fall to spring math growth. This is when we did 2nd through 8th grade for the FAST, and now we've expanded it to include K through 9th grade. So our strategies for the 2023-2024 school year, really focusing on ADSIS reading intervention. Students are selected for support if they did not show typical or aggressive growth on the FastBridge literacy screener, and then they have some really explicit instruction in reading in order to help make that growth. So last year, about 47% of these students moved
into the typical and aggressive growth category, and about 23% of students reached grade level proficiency. And I'd like to point out that was reaching grade level proficiency in one school year. So that is great. We also have this year that's new is additional support for our students with functional communication needs. Those students that I mentioned that are coming in that have particularly high needs, we've created a cohort within our own PD. So when teachers are working together during a collaborative time during the professional development days, they have an opportunity to work with job-alike teachers to do some planning on specific direct reading instruction that will meet their current needs and then help to provide them with growth too. And then we also have additional professional development for our special education teachers through partnership with 916. So not only are they meeting with job-alike counterparts within Heights, but they're also meeting with job-alike counterparts from the metro area and sharing ideas that worked. This way, they're also meeting with those job-alike peers that are across grade levels. So if, like you were talking about before, if you're a singleton and there's not someone else in the high school that has a classroom like yours, it gives you the opportunity to do it at that time. Also, Principal Kuhlman is speaking to this group too, talking about our Victory program, so that's great as well.
As we look at the school year, we're really focusing in on the Head, Heart, Hands, and Highlanders, which I know was presented at a previous one, and you'll probably see it many more times, because we really are truly aligning all of our work together. So as we think about what's best practice for instruction, what support our teachers have asked for or our data is showing, we really have categorized them into the head, heart, and hands. So when we think about the head, the staff's knowledge of content standards and desired student outcomes. The heart, the staff's beliefs, mindsets, and relational capacity. And hands, the staff practices. What are we doing? And how are we supporting, checking in on it, and providing opportunities for continued support or modeling? As we look at this school year, and we ask many people, one thing they say is they're excited. There's an excitement when we look at our data is where it is, but we know we can grow. And we're excited about that. I had the opportunity today to meet with the Regional Center of Excellence, who supports our school district. They're in connection with the Minnesota Department of Education. And our main person came out, and he hadn't been here before, and he was a principal superintendent before, and he came in and he said, I've heard amazing things about here, and here's what I've heard. I've heard that you work hard, that you all work hard and you want your students to do well. And I would say that. Our teachers work very hard. Our leaders, our principals, everyone's working really hard. And really, how can we focus that work so that we're getting results from it, so our students are growing? So our district-wide focus on the science of reading is happening all the way from early childhood up to 12th grade, having conversations about what does it look like to learn to read and how do we support our students with that at each of those levels. So we're diving into that work this year. We're using our Flex Learning Data Days, which we had one last week, and we met with our principals today, and it was wonderful. All of them shared about the things that they did on that day and the impact it's making. They were talking about data walls where they're looking at each student individually to ensure that they're growing. So when they meet each week with their teachers, schools are looking and saying, did this student grow? What supports can we give? What more support can we give? What could we do here? So really looking at each and every student and what they need. Professional development focus on literacy and equity on district days as well as collaborative time. Our teachers have asked for time together. How do we work 6-12 as an ELA teacher, as a social studies teacher, to ensure our students moving from the middle school to high school, that there is that alignment? And focusing in on the standards. We know with the legislative changes in the past year, there's been a lot. So supporting our teachers with those and providing them the opportunities to learn about them and the resources that they need for it. And a big one in the last few years has been instructional coaching. A lot of research shows it, and we've seen it within our district, the impact that it makes when an instructional coach can come into your classroom and model a lesson, and you're able to learn and then go back to your classroom and learn it, and the impact it's making on our students. So it's excitement. Sometimes we look at the data and we go down and we're like, no, we can do it. We're moving forward. So I am excited to come back next year and as Superintendent Stenvick shared earlier, see something different as we keep going on and improving, because they are working hard, and so we're excited about that. Any questions?
Thank you, directors. Appreciate it. Questions? Mary?
Thank you very much for that. So in the beginning of the presentation, you had the slide that showed the demographics, and we have about a 37% EL student population. So with the influx of students with English as not their first language, how is that captured in the information and the percentages that you shared with us?
Thank you. As we mentioned earlier, it does make impact on data when we look at the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessment. So we try to use internal assessment as well as the access tests, which provides EL proficiency to ensure the students are growing. And so it might not be reflected in those exact measures, but we have internal measures that we have to ensure that students are growing and moving ahead. And we are seeing growth with that. So we're really looking at that data and supporting our teachers with that. But it is hard to look at some of the data and know, but they are coming into our country, new to the country, and taking a test at their grade level. So they're walking in and then we're saying to a 7th grader, here's a test in English at 7th grade.
Right.
And it's difficult. So watching our students take it and persevering through it, they work hard through it, and we have other measures that we use that actually support the instruction with that.
Right, yeah, thank you very much for that, because I was feeling curious if, you know, when students come in and they aren't familiar with the language and they are held to those same standards as students that have been in our school district or even in the country since birth and up, that those numbers sort of, all of those answers goes into the percentages regardless. Is that correct?
Yes, yep. It depends on how long they've been in the country, if it counts for accountability, but they are required to take all the tests.
Awesome, thank you so much for clarifying that.
Thank you.
Julie?
So you mentioned other measures of growth. Why is that not in this presentation?
Thank you. We reported out on Strategic Direction B, which were decided previously, right, before our demographics changed, before things. So we reported out on that, but we do have internal measures that we're using. So it's not within the Strategic Direction B, within our strategic roadmap currently.
So that would be one of the things to put on your file of, one of the things, as we've had conversations about our next strategic plan.
Yes.
What measurements are we requiring this team to use and then report out to us?
Right.
So that's something that the board then helps to determine with the strategic plan.
And so that's where my question was kind of heading is, you know, what kind of data are we going to be collecting for that? The other question I have is the science of reading has been around for 30 years, 40 years. I know that the legislature is kind of focused on that. However, if that's been around so long, and I guess maybe it's a stupid question, but I don't understand why we're redoing science of reading when that should be what we've been doing for 30, 40 years. Could you explain that?
Sure. The science of reading, I think the definition has changed throughout the time and has gone back and forth. So a lot of times in education, you will see that things will come about and then something new comes and the shift happens. And so previously it was balanced literacy, where students would look at a word and they'd look at the picture, they try to guess the word. And the brain doesn't work that way.
No.
And so really now we're looking at how does the brain work when students are learning to read and using the brain science behind it to decide how do we use instruction then to support the way that they're learning developmentally. I even think about the way we teach the alphabet. We don't teach the alphabet A to Z anymore. You teach certain letters first because that's how your brain learns the different sounds. So it's really going back to the brain science of things and supporting that. But there is always a shift in education with things, and so it is exciting to see that now we're basing it upon science of how your brain works.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Jessica?
Thank you for the presentation. I had some similar questions to Director Granlund around multilingual learners and supporting that population of students, but I'm thinking specifically how we're supporting classroom teachers in being able to effectively support multilingual learners in their classrooms. So through professional development, working with our EL faculty, what are we doing to support that in the classrooms?
Thank you for that question. I was thinking about it earlier when it was mentioned about EL, that we really have taken the approach. We've increased the number of EL teachers that we have to support our students by providing those services and providing professional development to the entire staff. So right now, the high school they're on their second year of every teacher receiving support with supporting EL students within your classroom. We've also included our EL teachers in PLCs so that they can meet with grade levels and provide ideas and strategies. At the elementary, we have some co-teaching or modeling happening where they can come in and do that, as well as our district coordinator, Sarah Bauman. She's new this year and doing an amazing job going into classrooms, providing that on-the-spot coaching as needed. So we've really taken the approach of providing support from that EL teacher, but then also all of us are teachers of EL, or multilingual learners, and providing that through professional development, coaching, and resources.
Thank you for that. I also had a question about alignment between these metrics at the district level and then what's happening in the buildings in terms of the building level goals and their PLC work. So could you just talk kind of broadly, I guess, about how those two sets of metrics, or I guess multi-sets of metrics, intersect in service of the overall strategic goal?
As we think about our PLCs, our professional learning communities meet each week. So our teachers are meeting with their department or their grade level, looking at the work that they're doing with students, progress monitoring, checking in on what they're teaching, adjusting their instruction to support that each and every student is growing and learning. And with that, we're also continuing with our FastBridge, which is our screener in the fall, winter, spring, and progress monitoring, as well as functional phonics in the elementary. So as we look at these different measures, our hope is that if we focus in on that PLC work, and our hope is really research behind it as well, right? That if you focus in on that PLC work, that we will see impact on the other data. And so the data that the state collects with the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessment, the MCAs, we want to see impact on that, focusing in on aggressive growth and proficiency with our FastBridge as well as our PLCs.
Just as a matter of logistics, so Director Godfrey and Director Tuckrell are here this evening to present the district data, and following, the principals will be coming to present their building level data and goals. So the board will see both the district level and then also coming up the individual school data as well.
Great, yeah, thank you. Really the thrust of my question was to kind of understand how those pieces fit together, knowing that we're working, we want to individually set goals at each of our buildings, and then looking how that fits into what the system's working towards overall. And then, another part of this strategic direction is about college and career readiness, and I know that that looks like it's integrated in here in terms of academic achievement and making sure the students are prepared academically, looking at ACT, SAT, things like that. But I also know, and we've had presentations here, about a lot of the work that's being done to connect students with college and career-ready skills in a broader sense, right? So looking at, introduction to careers at various levels of a student's education, introducing students to the different types of post-secondary education that are available in our community, looking at the skills that we're teaching in our buildings through the AVID program, things like that. And I don't think there's really a question necessarily embedded in my comment, but just thinking ahead when we're talking about a new strategic plan, looking at what metrics maybe make more sense. I don't want those pieces to really get lost in the overall conversation, right? Academic achievement is certainly a primary reason that we're all here. It's something that, of course, all of us as board members are committed to. But there are college and career-ready skills that our students and our graduates need that are, that wrap around that academic achievement. So I just want to note that here, I guess, for future conversation. And then I did just have one more thing, if that's okay. I thank you so much for highlighting some of the statistics around the ADSYS reading intervention. I think that we've had a lot of discussion around the board table about the importance of reading interventionists and all of the reasons that we need to invest and scale that up across our district, but to actually see the difference that it's making for students who are selected for that particular intervention in terms of not just growth, but also meeting benchmarks. It's pretty phenomenal to see that. So I appreciate seeing that data and being able to really kind of fit that into our overall board discussion. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mary?
I just wanted to add to your point, at the AMSD presentation that Superintendent Stenvick and I attended on Friday, some of the students actually brought that part up and talked about how they really wish that their schools did more on helping them network outside of just going to a technical college or going to a regular four-year college, any of those things. And it was really interesting, and I think it just was more to your point, like, yes, students need this, they're talking about it, and I think that is something that we're really working to do to increase our capacity for that. So it's timely, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Other questions? Great. Thank you both for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, fresh from some sporting events tonight, we have Mr. Henderson.
Yes? I think mine's on the desktop. And I'm correct that I will be doing the Minnesota High School League Foundation grant first, correct?
That is, yes,
Okay.
that's correct. So I was actually just going to introduce Mr. Henderson, who is doing our,
Sorry.
yep, nope, you're good. I was kind of letting a pause there. So we do have our item D, the Minnesota State High School League Foundation Form A application resolution and Form B resolution for 2023-2024. Take it away, sir.
All right, thank you. Chair Mueller, members of the board, Superintendent Stenvick, thank you all for having me. Our mission in Columbia Heights is creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. And my couple of presentations will highlight all of our core values, I think, here, from community to innovation. This is an informational item. I think we will take this up as an action item in a couple of weeks at the next board meeting. But again, thank you for having me. The foundation was
Can
created.
I ask you to pause
Yeah,
1 second?
go
For
ahead.
board members, if you didn't look ahead of time in board book, his two PowerPoint presentations are together under the fall season activity update with the MSHSL Foundation grant being the latter half of that. So if you want to follow along, that's where that's located. Sorry.
Do I need to share this on the screen here, or can people
Yeah.
see that? I do? Okay. Sorry about that. I was moving right along in terms of my presentation. All right, here we go. So the foundation was created in 2007, and its purpose is really just to support youth participation in athletics and fine arts. There are two grants that I think we should be applying for here, and there's two grants from the foundation. The first is Grant Form A. This grant is given every single year, and we've applied for it at least, I think, as long as I can remember. And it's really just kind of a general grant to support all Minnesota State High School League athletics and activities. It can be used to support uniforms, equipment, transportation, et cetera. And so they take some of our data in terms of numbers, free and reduced, total participation numbers, and all of that, and then they distribute that grant money to schools throughout the state, both public and private. The Form B grant is also available to apply now, and typically, and I think you all, maybe everybody here was here last spring when we actually applied for that grant. So in my time in the activities department, that has always been a spring grant, and actually, I think maybe only the last couple of years have we applied for that. But they've combined them both now at the same time. So this grant is a little bit more specific. It can be used for things like leadership initiatives, health and safety, and in some very specific ways, transportation too. So last year we did receive both grants. We were fortunate enough to bring in the Search Institute into just this room in early or mid-August, I guess, with about 30 or 40 of our student leaders. And they did a youth lead training. It was a great success, but we used some of that grant money there for that. We'd like to apply for both grants again, obviously, and utilize that money in a lot of different areas, some in student and coach leadership activities, but also, or initiatives, but also in some health and safety planning and possibly some equipment here too. As we move forward, hopefully. And this picture right here, as you see, is actually our youth lead that did take place right in this room. And we were able to use that grant money to put that on. We still have a little bit of that left, which we have bought some books, and we have some trainings for some of our coaches as well. Sorry, with that, I'll take any questions on the Minnesota State High School League grants. Or foundation grants. Both of those are actually due in November, November 15th.
So both of those resolutions are in board book. There's the two, and I believe these will be on our next agenda as an action item. Are there any questions on the two grants? Julie?
How much are the grants for?
I think the Form A grant is, that's just dependent on how many schools apply and how many, and how they break that up.
Okay.
So I think in the past, we've gotten anywhere from $2,000 to $6,000 for that. And again, that's really a general one and really based on our total numbers and also our free and reduced numbers and unduplicated numbers of students participating in sports. The other grant was roughly $5,000 as a maximum, and we got that maximum last year and spent a big chunk of that on that youth lead grant. So they haven't said exactly how much that Form B grant would be the maximum for, but I want to, and probably shouldn't quote this or whatever, but it's $400,000 or $500,000 that they are breaking up, determining how many groups or schools, because our conference also has applied for it in the past too, has applied for it. So it's a decent amount of money.
Great.
Thank you for that question.
Other questions? Jessica?
For the Form B grant, could you give us some examples of like what a health or safety initiative might be that would be funded?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, full disclosure, they just told us during homecoming week that the Form B grant was also going to be on the table. They tend to do these things pretty fast because it is the high school league staff as well, so they're always behind. But so we'd like to do something for some leadership initiatives, but also our trainer, athletic trainer, Tina Hackley, has been looking into, there's some apps, and actually it came about in our homecoming football game, where we can actually tell with a little bit better data, you know, should we be off the field, should we not be off the field with lightning, thunder, et cetera. And so she's working with some of her other athletic trainers that in the surrounding area that have used those apps in the past. We'd also like to get a couple of wet bulb globe readers, which kind of just tell us exactly what the humidity and the temperature, and there's readings specific to, when we can be outside, when we have to, limit practices to 2 hours with 20-minute breaks, et cetera. So some of those specific things. There is a big thing in a grant for AEDs, et cetera, but we, at least at this point, feel like we have secured and have the necessary resources there. Tina always carries one with her too, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question.
Other questions? All right, we will vote on that at our next meeting. You get to stay with us and give us a fall season activity update.
All right, I will just jump through back to the front of our presentation. I thought we were in the other order. So again, thank you all for having me. I'm excited this is a little bit earlier than I have given the fall presentation in the past, and obviously we still have several events going on outside right now, and I think still in our gym, although maybe people are leaving. But we've had a really good fall. Our focus continues to be on growing and engaging our Heights community, and we continue to strive to create some inclusive environments, but we also want to have strong and competitive teams. And I and our activities team has really challenged our coaches and our advising staff with just being really intentional in what we're doing throughout the year with some of those byproduct things. Like we talk about in activities that we get, or we learn responsibility and time management, but intentionally teaching those things and not just letting them be a byproduct. And one of the trainings that we did as a coaching staff is just to be more intentional with our positive relationships. Again, from the Search Institute, use some of their resources on that. And then finally, we always want to be supporting our social, emotional, and physical health and well-being of our students in activities and athletes. So those are some of our focuses that we've had coming into the school year. I always present our fall participation numbers. So you can see the last few falls here. Remember that 2021 was really that first year after we had a stoppage in school and a stoppage in sport the spring before. So if you take a look at those numbers, and we've really kind of remained steady from 2022 to 2023. I'm happy with these numbers. We've seen some slight increases. We've seen a handful of decreases. We have added 2 new activities to the fall there in cheer and cross country. But what really excites me is just that we've got over 500 total students participating in fall activities. And that's really from 6th through 12th grade. So that's just really exciting. There was a day in early or mid-September that I was just checking in on teams out on the fields and then walking through the gym, and I even made my way down to CA, and it was just buzzing. I mean, there was students packed on every single field, in our pool, in every single one of our gyms, all the way from up here down to CA, and that was that's just really exciting and makes me really happy. And I think that's how it should be. That's a positive environment. That's a positive, thriving school. So it hasn't always been like that with our numbers, and so it's just really fun to see. Moving on from there, I'll highlight a couple of things this fall. I'll take a look at my notes so that I don't forget anything, but we've had an awesome addition in cheer. They've been a great addition to our football games, and we're really excited that they're going to be a presence at our basketball games too. Additionally, we added cross country, as I mentioned. We got roughly 15 students in there too, and they've had a really good inaugural season. And they've been competitive, which is really fun too, which isn't easy as your first time doing a sport. most of them do come from, you know, the distance team and track, so they've got a little bit of experience there, so. And then our CA athletics and activities continue to thrive. We've got fantastic numbers down there. Scott Opatz is our lead at the middle school, and he's done a really good job of just organizing, helping with any registration, being available to answer questions, have meetings, et cetera, and so that's been a huge plus. We've got great participation numbers down there, and then we also are now starting to see, not that we haven't always seen that influx of students coming up to the high school, but we're seeing them a little bit more prepared, and we've got a lot more of them actually sticking with those activities in the high school, which is awesome to see. Then highlighting just some of our leadership opportunities. I've talked about the youth lead that we did with the Search Institute, but we've got roughly 40 to 50 students in our leadership group, and we try to meet with them every other month-ish, and the boosters have really helped us out with food. That's a huge thing for, I mean, I'm a big food guy, and I just think sharing a meal is awesome together, and they've helped us out again with that. And so we've had a lot of opportunities. We did one with the Tri-Metro where we brought a small group of leaders together, and they met with a lot of other leaders from the Tri-Metro Conference. We also did another one with the High School League together in partnership, very similar, just talking about what they want to experience and creating some action plans at different events. So that's been fantastic. We've also continued our activities interns. We've got some working concessions right now. They do a range of things for us and with us, and really have allowed us in the activities department, Crystal Vital Schwartz, our activities facilitator, and myself, just to offer more things, specifically concessions, or they help us out with awards, or do some prep in events. And so Crystal Vital Schwartz has really taken that leadership opportunity and worked with those interns. It's a program where they actually get paid from Anoka County. Moving on from there, we just finished up a fantastic homecoming week, highlighting all of our events. Our football game did get rained out along with our fireworks, so if you're questioning that, we are going to postpone those till next year, unfortunately. But it was a great week. It was an exhausting week. But Principal Wynn and I both, after the bonfire on Thursday night, chatted, and it was the biggest bonfire that we had seen, most energized kind of crowd and Heights pride, and we just were excited that we were, experiencing that, I guess. And we've got some cool ideas, I think, for next year to kind of amplify that up without adding too much that, we can make it through the following weeks, because those weeks are great, but they're long. And then obviously we've got sections coming up for a lot of our high school events. Our middle school sports will be ending right before MEA break, but high school events, we've got section soccer happening right now. And our girls lost at Totino, unfortunately, today. Our boys were up 1-0 when I left that. So hopefully we continue on there, but most of our other sports will be experiencing sections here briefly. All right, and I know you all want me to stop talking here soon, and I will. I'm just gonna show you some pictures. It's like a 1.5 minute little video. Hopefully that works. I worked with our tech crew to make sure this was going to work, but it doesn't really want to see him. Oh, here we go. Am I still sharing? No, I'm not. Oh, shoot. Well, maybe they can view it at a later date. So these are just some highlights. Oh, you can't even see it up there. I'm sorry. Here we go. I'll start it over for y'all. There we go. Just some highlights from our fall. All right, thank you for your time. I appreciate you having me.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Mary?
Not questions as much as comments. I think you are absolutely right. We're seeing a lot of students involved. One thing that I'm hearing the most is how students wish there was more time to do more things and be more involved, which I think is great. Like, they're so excited to be in all of the different activities, and like some of the overlaps really make it hard, especially for kids in robotics, because that is an incredibly long season. But just seeing how excited they are, and then to speak to homecoming for a second, I know historically the amount of students that have come to that, even that dance, has been low, but I think this year, my understanding was we hit like a maximum, like we had, I think, close to 200 students maybe. And it was wonderful. The turnout was wonderful. The DJ was wonderful. The students had a lot of fun. And just to see how excited and engaged the students are in all of the ways in our school district, I think it just speaks volumes to the work that our staff and you are doing to help create those, and then working with students to really help them create spaces where they want to be. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. We've got an awesome coaching staff too. They do a great job. I think we were roughly, I think it was a little under 250 is at least the amount of tickets we sold for the dance.
Oh, then it was way more because we,
Yeah.
It's great.
Julie?
And I just want to comment on the things that you are starting to intentionally do instead of just having it fall out, like time management and stuff like that. How are you having the kids work on those things intentionally? What does that look like?
You know, that's going to be, thanks for the question. That's going to be different, definitely for every single program, every single coach. We haven't sought out like a specific plan for every student or every coach, but just that take some of these skills that we talk about students learning and intentionally implement those things into a practice plan, or talk about, okay, when is your homework going to get done? What are you going to do in between when you've got practice from 3:30 to 5:30? Like actually having those conversations and being intentional about those things. But we have not formulated an actual plan for specific coaches or anything like that. Just challenge them more to be specifically intentional there.
Yeah, and I think, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
My daughter was a swimmer, and as you know, in competitive swimming, when you're doing club and school, you're in the pool early in the morning, you're in the pool right after school, you're at the workout, you're lifting weights, et cetera. And getting that time management, I think, is really critical. And if kids don't understand that, hey, you got to get that homework done, here's the time frame you have, why don't you sit down and list out your clock and figure it out? I think those are great skills to learn in high school and junior high, and and then obviously outside of school. It's an adult thing to learn. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you putting something like that into some plans intentionally.
Yeah, I mean, and again, appreciate the question. I think there's room for us to grow in terms of how we actually do that, or some examples, and we have some resources for specifically head coaches that we've provided in terms of books to read. But I do think it's important, because we talk about that all the time in athletics and activities, that, you get so many great things, but yeah, they're generally a byproduct of everything else you do, and you kind of just learn them along the way, unless you have a coach or an advisor that is just more intentional about specifically talking about those things. Or like we challenge them in the meeting this summer with our coaches, just to be more intentional in building those relationships. And taking some of those steps from developmental relationships from our training from the Youth Search Institute. And so I'm a big fan of being intentional. I try to do it as a father more than anything, and that's kind of where that piece came from, them challenging or myself challenging them.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions? Jessica?
I heard you mention that the fireworks are postponed until next year, so I just have one question. Does that mean that next year we will have double fireworks?
That's a great question. That might be up to the boosters. So we get charged a little bit, obviously, for them coming all the way out here. They're here. I think they were here till 10 p.m. plus, and I called them off finally. But so we have a booster meeting in a week from tomorrow, and so I plan to discuss some of that with them. Do they want to reallocate some of those funds, or do they just want us to keep it for that year? So
You're on the record. It is possible. No.
I feel like they're pretty good for a high school fireworks.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, but a little bit longer would be great.
On a more serious note, I did want to thank you for providing the slideshow of the fall activities. I think that's really, it's a good opportunity for us to see the diverse swath of things going on across the district. We all can't, take every opportunity to get to everything. So that's really, really good to see. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, of course. It's the most fun.
I have two comments to make. First of all is thank you to you and Crystal. I see you guys running everywhere all the time. So thank you for everything that you guys do in your leadership and providing these great opportunities. And I think that you have been very intentional about what you're doing with the activities in athletics. And so thank you for that. And then I can't let this go without giving a huge shout out to the cheer team.
Oh my gosh, yes.
They're fantastic, and so I just kudos to them. The homecoming football game was actually, unfortunately, the only home game I was able to get to this year. They were so fun to watch. I often found myself being distracted from the football game because they were awesome. So I think that's a great addition. So kudos to them. They did a fantastic job. They're fun to watch.
Thank you. I'll throw out names there that Miss Elaine Graham, our coach for cheer, has done an awesome job. And as you mentioned, Crystal Vital Shorts, our activities facilitator, she put together the picture program. So all credit to her. She's phenomenal and does, like you said, everything.
Thank you. We look forward to having you back again soon. Oh, quick, Michelle?
Will the cheer squad or team be able to perform at away games?
Currently, that isn't scheduled, but we have talked about if we're going to a section final or something, or we're going away to a section game, that's a real possibility. Generally is going to require another bus, which is not something that we had planned for. So,
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
all right, thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is our school board subcommittee on community engagement update, and Jessica will be giving us the update today.
Sure. So our subcommittee on community engagement met on September 19th, and we had a pretty wide-ranging discussion about goals for community engagement, as well as a framework that would help support those goals. So it was a lot of idea generation. We talked about some goals for our community engagement practices being about building connections between the communities we serve and governance. We talked about providing opportunities to listen to community voices. We talked about being ambassadors for the work of the board. And so in service of those goals, our subcommittee discussed some recommendations that we shift our community engagement model towards more organic engagement within the community. And so part of that is talking about sort of the need and the role continuing to exist for formal listening sessions. We want to continue having virtual sessions. We talked about having at least one as a lead up in October to November. But we also would like to increase our meeting cadence to align with the frequency that the subcommittee on policy meets. And we talked about doing that so that we're able to really take some of these ideas and build a more specific framework so that we can bring some recommendations forward to the full board. So we think that if we meet more frequently, like I said, it will allow us sufficient time to identify some specific recommendations to the board. But some things we talked about would be recommendations that would be including seeking engagement opportunities in each of our schools, having board presence at community events, seeking out collaboration with our city councils, looking for opportunities to engage with our Spanish-speaking families, maybe having an interpreted listening session, looking at ways of bringing more expansive student voice to the work of the Community Engagement Committee. So more specifics to come, but that's what we talked about at our September 19th meeting.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. Any questions? We look forward to hearing. Oh, Mary.
I was just going to say, having, I've only been on the board since 2020, but I've been involved in the school district for a very long time. And I'm really excited to see like the evolution of the community engagement, like this new iteration, and I'm really excited for it. I mean, I remember when we would meet out there and there was just a line and we would check in one-on-one. And so I think that this is amazing. So thank you guys for your work on it.
Well, credit is due to previous versions of the subcommittee and the board members that really took that on and articulated that as a primary role of the board and in making it a subcommittee to begin with. So we have a good history to work from there.
Great. Michelle.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that this is, still kind of new and we're still getting it up and going, right? So we are building on the ideas that were already there. And I don't know, we just kind of want to hone in more on taking, the schools out into the community more, reaching out to businesses and things like that. So that our community can know what we're doing as a district and also what we're doing for them as community members, because we provide more than just an education to our students and help to our families in the school district, like we help out in other ways too. So also coming up with ways to communicate those things. I don't think everyone knows how that information is given or where to go for it. So we're really trying to brainstorm and figure out how to get that information out in a more efficient way so that we can have more engagement both ways. But not always having people come here to us, but kind of having us go out. It's fun.
Great. Thank you. We look forward to hearing more. Next, we have our action items. Our first and only action item today is our resolution appointing election judges for the school district's special election. As presented in the prior meeting, we need to approve a resolution appointing election judges for the school district special election to be held on November 7th, 2023. This is a resolution, so I am going to read the resolution. Okay. Resolution for appointing election judges for the school district special election to be held November 7th, 2023. Whereas Columbia Heights Independent School District number 13 will be conducting a special election on November 7th, 2023, and whereas pursuant to Minnesota statutes 204B.21, election judges for precincts in the school district election must be appointed by the board of that district, and whereas the persons elected to serve meet all requirements of Minnesota statute and county administrative policy and have been trained and certified pursuant to the law. Now therefore be it resolved by the school board of Columbia Heights Independent School District number 13, state of Minnesota as follows. 1, the individuals listed on attachment A are hereby appointed to serve as election judges for the school district special election to be held on November 7th, 2023. 2, in the event circumstances require judges to be appointed in addition to the persons named in this resolution, the clerk of election is authorized to appoint as necessary, provided that the persons appointed meet all requirements of Minnesota statute and administrative policy. The resolution does include the attachment, which I will not read all of the names, but for our 2 precincts, Independent School District 13, Precinct 1, Valley View Elementary, and Independent School District 13, Precinct 2, Highland Elementary. Can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Mary, thank you. And a second?
Second.
Second by Michelle. Any discussion? All right, as this is a resolution, we'll do a roll call vote. Mary, would you do the roll, please?
Yep. Granlund, aye. Maderas.
Aye.
Petway.
Aye.
Hool.
Aye.
Palmer. Mueller.
Aye. Resolution passes. Thank you. Next, we have board topics. Does anybody have any board topics? Mary?
Yes. I have 2 board topics. So in addition to all of the wonderful things that we have going on, just wanted to call attention to a couple other things. So Columbia Academy has their book fair. They're really excited about it. And that will be from October 23rd through the 27th. During the day, students are going to be able to come in, and it will be open for parents the evening of the 25th during conferences. So kids love it. I don't know. I always loved Scholastic book fairs. They were my favorite, and they are still really wonderful. So super excited about that. And the proceeds from those go directly back into our school through the ability to buy more books for our libraries, which is fantastic. So highly encourage people to attend. And then also, subsequent to what Director Hendricks was discussing about activities, the very first robotics meet of the year is this Friday. So super excited about that. And I think that's it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle?
Question really quickly. Where does that take place, the robotics meet? Is it here?
St. Paul Academy?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question.
Also, just
I'll
one
look it
other, just to reiterate, Superintendent Stenvick mentioned this in her report, but the 28th is the trunk or treat. If any board members would like to volunteer to work the booth and see people coming up to treat, let Stephanie Alvarez know if you're able to join. So,
Yeah, I had more. I just didn't say I did. But that sounds a lot of fun. So I want to recognize that it's National Principals Month. So we want to recognize our principals and say thank you, and our assistant principals, and say thank you for all the work that they do for our students. Thought that was pretty nice that the district put that up on their Facebook page. So I wanted to bring some attention to it. I also wanted to note that there is a referendum informational presentation on the 24th that will be held here at 6 o'clock for anyone who has questions that they want answered. As well as I wanted to see if there was a way to, I saw the MSBA has a workshop for student board members coming up on the 24th, and I just wanted to know if information about that was going to be passed on to them to see if they wanted to attend.
Yes, the students have received the permission slip because
Oh,
I would
awesome.
be taking them from school. And if I may, if any board members are interested in attending that day, and I'm arranging transportation, so board members, just let me know. Board members are able to transport themselves, of course, but if they want to join in on the school-provided transportation, just please let me know.
What time is that?
It's most of the day, so I believe
okay.
it begins at 9 o'clock, so we would have to leave here around 8 o'clock, and it ends, I believe, at 1:30, so arriving back here by 2:30, most of the day.
Thanks.
But board members would be welcome to pop in at any time of the day. It's down in Shakopee.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks.
Any other board topics? All right, then we will adjourn the meeting at 8:27.